Hello and welcome everybody to College Football Wraparound here on October 8th. I'm Cooper Naylor, your host, and I am so glad that you can join us today as we have a busy schedule in only 30 minutes. So let's start out with the Cooper Naylor poll, then we'll be getting to Bryce Young, who was injured against Arkansas. Then we're going to talk about Quinn Ewers returning against Oklahoma. Then we've got 10 teams that are looking to become bowl eligible. Paul Chryst and Carl Durrell have been fired. There are some very good jobs available right now. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll do our prediction recap. And then it'll be time to pick the games that are going on this week. So here we are with my poll. And I'll put that in full screen for you. So, and not really getting able to see 13 right here, so I'll hide that. So what you got right here is Alabama, Ohio State, Tennessee, Georgia, Clemson, Michigan, USC, Oklahoma State, Penn State, Ole Miss, and so on. So that is my rankings for this week, and it's going to be a fun week of football. I can already imagine. So it's time to dive into some football commentary, folks, as that is my long ranking list, which, let me be honest, I think it's very accurate. A lot of people may say no, but to me at least, it's accurate. So going back to what we're going to talk about first, I want to start with Bryce Young. And so Bryce Young, of course, played good against Arkansas when he did play. Then he goes down with that injury, and I mean, it was, to say the least, it was didn't look that good. And if you were listening to the game, I mean, just hearing about what that injury was like, yeah, it didn't sound like it was a good thing to be dealing with. I mean, that could have been a season-ending injury right there for Bryce Young, whereas right now, he is questionable to play. The fact that he may have a chance to play today is incredible. Let me tell you. Because that guy is Alabama. If Alabama doesn't have Bryce Young, I don't know how they get to the national championship last year. So, I mean, against Texas A&M, it shouldn't be. I mean, I don't think Alabama's going to be hurting if Jalen Milroe has to start against A&M, but I can see where this is going to affect, the way this team is prepared. And I mean, let me be honest. Jalen Milroe, when he came into the game against Arkansas, he played a great game considering the fact that he wasn't ready to start. And he wasn't ready to really come into the game in that kind of fashion. I mean, it was 21-0 when he came into the game. So, I mean, Bama held a comfortable lead. Arkansas, of course, started to creep their way back. And then, of course, there at the end, Alabama finally shut the door, winning the game 49-26. And I mean, this was finally what Alabama expects, and that is to put up 49 on a team that was, honestly, they're still a good team. Now, as you could see, I dropped them out of my rankings, and that's only because I just believe that after 5 weeks, if you're 3-2, you really don't deserve to be in the rankings. But Arkansas is still a really good football team, and I still believe that they deserve a shot in the rankings. if they win this week against Mississippi State, I'm going to rank them because that's how I feel. I'm that confident about how they are. So, I mean, I mean, if Bryce Young doesn't play, I feel like Bama's fine. So we'll just see what happens with that Bama game and how Bryce Young could be a big factor into that. All right, switching gears to, well, this is kind of in that same vein of Alabama, but this is the quarterback that got injured against Alabama, Quinn Ewers. Shoulder injury, believe it or not. And I'm telling you, Texas is a better team with Quinn Ewers. I mean, you're looking at a team that went toe-to-toe with Bama. I mean, they went toe-to-toe. And I mean, I'm being honest, from watching that game, Bama should have lost that football game. That's just how it was. Bama played an awful football game that day. And really, if Quinn Ewers was playing, I feel like they win the football game. Hudson Card, in my opinion, is not that great of a starting quarterback. And I mean, it's nothing against him. It's just Texas is a better team when you got Quinn Ewers. He fits Sark's system much better. And you can look at the guys that Sark had as an offensive coordinator at Alabama. I mean, you had Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, you're looking at a guy that was an incredible quarterback. And, I mean, this is Sark's second year in Texas. I mean, for his first year, they went 5-7, which was last year. And, I mean, let me be honest. I don't think you can really... I mean, I understand it's Texas, but give the man a chance. I mean, come on. And this year, I think, is the year that they really show a lot of people that they can be really good. Now, as you know, and yeah, Texas was one of my playoff teams. So, right now, 3 and 4 are out. 1 and 2 are still in the hunt and still could make it. Alabama and Ohio State were my top 2 teams coming into this season, and they're still my top 2 teams. Now, 3 and 4 have flipped. I mean, one of them or both of them have flipped every week. That's impressive. Now, Texas is going to continue to be a good team, I feel like. And now that Quinn Ewers is back, and with how Oklahoma's been playing, and depending on the availability of Dillon Gabriel, I mean, I'm going Texas. I mean, let me be honest. Because, I mean, Dillon Gabriel is most likely out. I think Quinn Ewers coming back is going to be big for Texas, and that's going to help them win the Red River rivalry for this season. I mean, I think he's just that big to the team that he is the game changer right here and ultimately helps them get over the edge. So, we'll see what happens. All right. So, we've got some teams that are looking to become bowl eligible. So, You may ask, what are these teams? Well, I got them right here on paper. We've got Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State, Kansas, USC, UCLA, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Coastal Carolina. And then we've got Syracuse and Penn State. And then we got some 4-0 teams that will be playing next week or will be 5-0 next week on bye week. So we got TCU, or we'll be playing next week. Would be TCU, Oklahoma State, Tennessee, and James Madison. So, you ask me, who will be becoming bowl eligible? Well, as far as some of these games, there are games in here that I will be picking. So that list would include Tennessee, Kansas, TCU, Alabama, UCLA, USC, Oklahoma State. So, I mean, looking at it, I mean, I'm be honest. Clemson and who? I mean, let's see. So Clemson takes on. They're going to Boston College in prime time. Clemson's going to be 6-0. Michigan is at Indiana coming up on Fox here in a little bit. They'll win that game. Ohio State's got Michigan State. Ohio State's going to win. Let's see. Georgia has got Auburn. Georgia will win that football game. Ole Miss it's going to Vanderbilt. Ole Miss will win that. Coastal Carolina, I do not have ranked yet. So if they win, I'm most likely ranking them. And let me real quickly look up who Coastal Carolina is playing, because I feel like this is important. They're going to ULM in prime time. That's a win for Coastal Carolina. Syracuse, they're on bye week. Penn State is on bye week. And then TCU, of course, taking on Kansas. I'm not going to pick that game. Oklahoma State, of course, taking on Texas Tech. Won't pick that later. Tennis. James Madison. So we will search James Madison just to get a idea. They're going to Arkansas State. They got to win. So what you're going to see is I feel like most of these teams are going to stay undefeated after the day is done. So, I mean, not a lot of controversy here, but Kansas is really the team, and Syracuse in my mind. I mean, let's be honest, James Madison as well? James Madison just got here. The way I see it, though, James Madison and Appalachian State are so similar because they both, made a name for themselves they were in the FCS and then made a name for themselves and when they played FBS schools. So that is all I've got to say about these teams, and some of these teams I'll be picking their games here a little later. So there have been 2 Power 5 coaches fired last week, and those would include Paul Chryst and Karl Dorrell. Paul Chryst coached Wisconsin. Karl Dorrell coached Colorado. Paul Chryst, now, he's the one I'm kind of shocked because the man did I would say a good job. He's been there since 2015, so this is like his 8th year. I mean, dang. This guy I felt was really good. And it's hard seeing him leave because I remember when he got hired there, and that was a while back. And I mean, I thought he did a great job. Karl Dorrell was in his third season and got fired from Colorado. So let me be honest. Wisconsin is the one I feel like is much more like, okay, makes sense why they fired. Now, Colorado, let me be honest. They have not been good at football in a long time. And when I mean a long time, I mean a long time. And I just feel like they gave Karl Dorrell not enough time, in my opinion. Because, I mean, you're in this era of college football where, if they don't produce a good team in like 3 years, or, I mean, even 2 years, in their second season, if they're not doing good, they're ready to fire. And, I mean, I'm sitting here like, why? I mean, let me be honest. You had the COVID year where they actually looked like a pretty good team there for a while. Then you had last year, and now this year. In my opinion, this should have been a de facto second season because that first season with the COVID year, I feel like you can't really get a lot of, you can't get a lot from that because you didn't have any kind of, spring training. You didn't have any training camps. You just literally went right into football in September. Well, actually, for the Pac-12, it wasn't until, November of that year, and you went into late December. So, I just feel like it's not fair to really say he did a terrible job because, I mean, I would have at least rode with it till the end of the season and then evaluated where I'm at. That's just where I would have been. Now, Paul Chryst makes sense just because this Wisconsin team they expect good football. They hadn't had that for the last few years, and so it makes sense why they got rid of Paul Chryst, even though I feel like he's a good head coach, I feel like. And that's honestly just the way I feel about it. I feel like Wisconsin did well with Paul Chryst. Now, Paul Chryst, I feel like, is going to be a guy who's going to find a job somewhere. I just don't know where. But I don't know if it's going to be to the caliber of like a Wisconsin, but it sure will be a good job. I feel like a good, comfortable job too. I mean, that's what I feel like is coming for him. That's just my opinion on that because, I mean, Paul Chryst to me, I thought was a good, solid coach. So, all right. So, top jobs available. So, real quickly, I'm going to look at this up because, this is really big, I feel like. Because, let's see. So, the jobs that are available right now, we've got, so Nebraska by far is the top job open right now. Because why not Nebraska? Anybody's going to want to go to Nebraska. I mean, I feel like that's let's be honest. The tradition is great. Facilities, you got the fan support, and what Nebraska's willing to spend. And, I mean, the con, though, is the access to talent. The state of Nebraska just doesn't produce enough talent within its own borders to build a team capable of winning the Big Ten title. So, I mean, I don't know. Nebraska, though, would be, if I'm looking at all these jobs available, Nebraska. If I'm offered Nebraska, I would go Nebraska. So, Wisconsin is another place that is open. That's by far the second best place to go right now. And then, I mean, let's see. I feel like, in a way, that Colorado has got to get the edge over Arizona State, in my opinion. Because I just have this feeling like Colorado is a decent place to coach. And I feel like the guy they've got to really go after is Eric Bieniemy. I mean, the guy's done a great job coaching Patrick Mahomes in the NFL. I mean, you got to give the man a chance. I feel like I believe he played at Colorado in college, and he's from Colorado. So Eric Bieniemy would be the guy I would really be going after if I'm Colorado. If I'm Nebraska, honestly, I don't know where you go with that. And then, as far as Wisconsin, I feel like it's wide open right now. I mean, it sounds stupid to even say this, but would you consider bringing Brett Bielema back? I mean, it's just something being thrown out there from me, at least. So, I mean, there's a lot of good chances out there for these places to go get a guy that'd be really good. So, I mean, we'll just see what happens. But, I just have a feeling that Nebraska, Wisconsin, and Colorado are your top open jobs right now. That's my opinion. So, a predictions recap. And look at this. I went 7-3 last week. Of course, took week 4 off for vacation. I'm 26-16 overall. Colton still is 14-6. He's not joining me tonight. He may join me later, but there is an update on where we stand with the games picked. So, take a good hard look. That is where I stand, where Colton stands this season. Folks, we are at week 6. We are almost halfway through the season. Can you believe that? Almost halfway through the college football season. It's insane. So, it is time to pick today's games, starting with Oklahoma and Texas. Now, Quinn Ewers is returning. Dillon Gabriel, I don't know if he'll be playing today or not. He's questionable. I just got to give the edge to Texas here because you got your star quarterback. Oklahoma doesn't. And I think Texas looks fine this season. They lost to Alabama. Of course, Quinn Ewers got hurt during the game. It's hard to win a football game with a backup quarterback coming in the middle of the game. But you go against Texas Tech, and Hudson Card is just not the guy for Texas, in my opinion. He's just not the guy. So, Texas beats Oklahoma today with Quinn Ewers as their quarterback. We got Buffalo at Bowling Green. This one is an interesting football game, of course. This could go either way, maybe, but I'm going to go Buffalo. I have a feeling Buffalo wins this football game. All right. Later tonight, BYU at Notre Dame. This one's at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it's honestly, the fact that Notre Dame's actually playing as a home team in this game is kind of crazy because this does not seem like a home game for them. This seems more like a road game. But either way, I got to be honest. I got to take the upset here. I think Notre Dame wins this football game. And folks, let me ask you, isn't this crazy to think about? Notre Dame is an underdog. Yes. They are an underdog to BYU on neutral site. That is so hard to think about. Notre Dame actually not being great. I mean, they normally are a decent team. This year, they're not great, but I feel like they're going to pull off an upset against BYU. All right, Texas Tech at Oklahoma State. I got to go Oklahoma State. They are just rolling. They look strong. They honestly, to me, look better than they did last year. And that may be a good recipe for winning the Big 12. So, I got to go Oklahoma State here. Washington State at USC. I really like what I'm seeing from USC so far. So, I'm going to take the Trojans. I think the Trojans pull it out at the end. So, USC gets the W. Florida State at NC State. I think Florida State wins this football game. I think they come back after the loss and they just pound NC State. Utah at UCLA. Both teams look really good, but I got to go Utah. I think they're playing really good football. Texas A&M at Alabama. I mean, Alabama's still too much, even if Bryce Young's out. That's just the honest truth. TCU at Kansas. Kansas is going to get the W. They're going to be a bowl eligible. And I cannot believe I'm saying Kansas is going to win a football game. And then lastly, Tennessee at LSU. I'm going Tennessee. Tennessee's going to be really good. So, that is it for today. Thank you for watching, and we will see you again later. Goodbye, everyone.